Build Your Business listeners. This is Matt Reynolds, your host for the podcast, and you are listening to what we are calling the legacy episodes. And really, these are the pre-episodes that really led to this podcast, the Build Your Business podcast. This is really my life's work and my brother's life's work in building your business. And so they were originally published in the Barbell Logic podcast as part of the Principles or Coaching Success series, but really touch on similar topics to the Build Your Business podcast: how to improve your productivity, how to set and accomplish your goals, deprioritize urgent tasks, to focus on what is most important to you, and most importantly, to become a better person and leader and business owner overall. I'm proud to bring you these podcasts. Again, many years of life's work, several years of podcasts, and several decades of business ownership. Hope you enjoy them and learn from them. You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show. You're listening to the Barbell Logic podcast. I'm your host, Matt Reynolds. It's another episode of the Coaching Success series. Hey, happy Friday. I'm in Vegas, not my favorite city. It's also 100 degrees at 9 p.m. at night right now, which is nuts. But we're here with Mission Control with Andrew, Nikki, and Josh. And we're hanging out with the Hormozis, with Alex and Layla Hormozi and their team at acquisition.com. It's been a really fun week. This is our strategy deployment week. And so we kicked that off with really a 2-day workshop at acquisition.com with the team there. And so I want to talk a little bit. I'm not going to go into details. I certainly don't want to take proprietary information from them, but really some kind of big picture takeaways from us. And really the thing here, I've talked about the business strategy weeks that we do as a fully remote business with our employees and our team all over the world. Certainly we get to meet more often than just a couple times a year, whether we're doing conferences or we're meeting at Air Force bases or whatnot. But twice a year, at the beginning of the year and in the middle of the year, the Mission Control team, the four of us, we really set strategy, what we call strategy deployment for the business. I've talked about that in past episodes. You can go back and find those. I really want to talk a little bit more today about why we came here and, paid the ticket price, which was not cheap, for education and the value in personal education. And first off, what's amazing about technology is that it has given us access to just an overwhelming amount of education, places that you can better yourself. And so there have been times that I have seen young entrepreneurs or business owners that they read all the books and they watch all the videos, they watch every Hormozi video or whoever, and they never put it into action. For me, my process here is that I've found a lot of value out of Hormozi's books and their content. They've got a really great sort of sales process going on. They put out a ton of free high-value content. You'll notice that we've tried to do the exact same thing, albeit not nearly as big as those guys are, but to just bring value. I mean, bring value here on the podcast, to bring value in our videos, our YouTube videos, to bring value in our written articles and ebooks. And so that's really kind of how we found Hormozi. It was watching videos and hearing podcasts and then buying the books, which was kind of a low price entry option. And at some point you go, okay, I want some time with this person to really kind of look at our business, and that's worth the investment. So long as the education leads to identifying your business constraints, the major constraints, the bottlenecks of the business, and putting that into action. And so this was actually a great setup for the week, for the strategy deployment week. So Monday, Tuesday, here in Vegas for the workshop, and then the rest of the week has just been working with Mission Control to put those things into action, identifying the major constraints in the business. I probably won't go into major details there, but I'll give you a little bit so that you've got some examples. But the key there is that, number one, education doesn't have to cost, because there's a plethora of information on the internet for free. There's tons of podcasts and videos and wonderful things that are out there. There are those low-level purchases like books, which I think you should be reading or listening to on Audible or whatnot that don't cost much money. And you can derive massive value from those things. And I think that everyone should. So the side note there is, but a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, or wannabe entrepreneurs stop right there. You've got to actually have a business that makes money. That's it. And that's not the end goal for us. If you think about our tenants, we've talked about this a ton. Our number one tenet, our number one core value in the company is to serve our clients and our coaches and staff, full staff. And so if you don't have a business that is grounded in core values, grounded in culture, then you've got a broken business that's not going to last. But also, if you have a business that can't make money, you don't have a way to support your family. And so that's okay too. There's nothing wrong. It's people get weird when you start talking about money. Like, it's okay to make money so long as the end goal is not to make profit or money at all costs, at the cost of the culture, or at the cost of people, at the cost of service. And certainly there are businesses that have done that and been very successful. It's just not who we are. And if you're listening to this podcast, it's probably not who you are. And so the education, I would challenge you first to find those places where you derive value, probably through free content. Most of those content producers have a sort of low-level buy-in, a book, an ebook, a course, a something. And don't just throw darts, blindfolded at the wall. Don't spend money on someone that you haven't derived a lot of value out of their free content first. If everything they lead you to is to an upsell and there's no content in the free, then that would be a big red flag for me. And so the real goal for us is to leverage our education to identify our business constraints. And there are always a million things you can do in a business. And as the business gets bigger, there are more millions of things that you could do. But even if you are a business of one, or you're a coach, one coach, you don't have assistant coaches, maybe you own a gym, maybe you don't, maybe you're coaching out of your garage, maybe you're coaching online through Turnkey Coach or something else. The key is still to identify what are the major constraints in the business, especially the ones or the levers that you can pull or the dials that you can turn that would bring you the greatest return on investment for the lowest effort. The greatest return on investment for the lowest effort. It's almost like minimum effective dose, right? Remember that we often cut off the end of that phrase. It's minimum effective dose for maximum return on investment. And so in order to grow your business in the way you want to, and this is the only part that I'll talk a little bit about the workshop, is that to grow, you either have to do more, be better, or add new. Do more, be better, add new. In a simple, just to make it clear to our audience, more is adding more clients, more revenue, right? For us, the revenue is obviously intimately related to the number of clients. So that might be that your biggest constraint is you need to make more content to have more people find out about you. If that content starts to do well, or you see a piece of content that performs well compared to all of the other organic content that you make, then it might be more ad spend, or it might be starting some ad spend. The thing about ads, and there's a lot of people who are going to tell you that it's not great, and for a lot of you listening, it might not be the right time. If you don't have a good library of content that you're making for free to just get the message out there as how you're different, the value you provide, then more content is the first step. And then when you find that content that does well, that organic content that performs at 5x or more of what your typical content does, then you put an ad behind it and you take that same content, you add a call to action, a CTA at the end, which might not be an upsell to people spending money. It might be collecting an email. It might be putting them on a newsletter list. It might be sending them a free ebook, like a freemium product. That could be more. So more content, more ad spend, a better close rate. If you've got quite a few leads coming in, but your close rate is low, you need to work on your sales acumen. You might need a sales team. Most of you don't. Most of you just need to get better at sales, at closing. Someone's seen the value, they recognize the value, they hear the price, they get a little bit freaked out, but you understand you've got the system to walk them through. This is why this is going to make your life better. Again, we're a quality of life company, not just a make money company. So that could be more. The other piece then is to, if you look at the clients you have, or even future clients that will come in, you can quote unquote more by driving up the lifetime value on your clients. one of the best ways to do that is to reduce churn, is to continue to nurture those clients once they become clients. We are extremely proud of our churn. Our churn started, I don't know, between 5 and 10% back in 2016, 2017, and it is now for really almost the entire year of 2024 been under 2%. And for those of you who know our model, we have no contracts. Clients can cancel anytime. Why do they not cancel? Well, they don't cancel because we provide high value to them. And because we provide high value to them and they don't cancel and their churn rate is 1.6, then their lifetime value, their lifespan is 60 months, which is 5 years for the average client, which drives up the lifetime value of the client. If the lifetime value of the client goes up because they don't churn, then every new client you add adds more revenue and margin and whatnot to the business, as opposed to replacing the lost clients. So just equally as important as getting new clients is reducing the amount of clients you lose every month or every quarter or every year, right? And so that's the retention rate of clients. It's offering them more value on the services that you provide. It's giving them more value for the online coaching, or it's providing optional upsells for nutrition or the academy product or things like that. So more is number one. Better is number two. So you can provide better service. You can make sure that the math is right. You can have better margins. Again, if you followed us from the beginning, our prices have gone up over the years. They will continue to go up. For the vast majority of our clients, they get locked in at the price that they buy. New clients provide better margin. And so as we look at the math, you have to make sure that the margins make sense. If you have a business that's losing money on every client and you add more clients is not the goal. Better is the goal, better margins, because you're just adding more burn or more, like you're literally lighting cash on fire and throwing it in the trash can. And so it could be better service, it could be better margins, it could be more flexibility or efficiency or dollar per hour for our coaches, especially for turnkey coach and for block coaches. It's more value for the dollar for our clients. How can we be better to provide better service, better margins, better efficiency, all of those things, which also lead to growth? So more, better, and then there's new. And new should be the last thing that you look at. I think Barbell Logic has a great story of that, because we were a quote unquote one trick pony. I mean, we provided online strength coaching and that was it at a specific price point. There weren't 3 options or 5 options or multiple options. It was just, this is the thing we do. And we really did that for about 3 years, and we got in a really good place. And we started looking at the client life cycle and noticed that many of our clients wanted to have the education to become coaches. And so we launched the Academy in 2018, the end of 2018. Of course, the Academy at this point is in its, 6th, 7th, 8th permutation. And we continue to make that better to try to help coaches be better coaches. We've got the Coaching 101, which is the very introductory course for barbell enthusiasts that want to learn how to coach their spouse or their neighbor or their best friend. And then you've got Principles, which is really everything you need to pass the professional barbell coaching certification. And then we've got the advanced concept classes, which go into deeper dives on the things that really matter, things like coaching efficiency and making sure you understand the anatomy. Like what happens if one of your clients gets, bicep tendonitis? We've got courses on those sorts of things, upper extremity, lower extremity, advanced programming, things like that. And so for us, that was the first new product really we added nutrition at some point, because we recognized that for clients who were getting stronger but getting fatter, it wasn't improving their quality of life. And so we added nutrition. And then as COVID hit and we had developed our own software for ourselves, which it wasn't new because it wasn't a new revenue stream, we recognized that we were sitting on the best online coaching software in the world. And so we started to license out that software to other good coaches or great coaches in the industry. And oh, by the way, we got lucky and started landing military contracts, which really leveraged, for the most part, turnkey coach and the licensing of that. So for us, Block has gone from very strength-focused B2C to education through the Academy, to adding some nutrition or additional services to the B2C coaching product, to licensing out the software to other coaches in the industry, to licensing out the software to the military. And we didn't shut one down and completely pivot, we added. But the company is almost 10 years old. We know right now our constraints in the company are not in adding something new. We want to continue to do more, be more, have more clients, have more coaches, have more clients and coaches, both on Turnkey Coach and on Barbell Logic Online Coaching. We know where we need to be better. We know we need to have better margins. We know that we're constantly working to improve efficiency for our coaches, dollar per hour, flexibility for the client and the coach. That's the better. And for us, there is no new right now. There isn't anything on the horizon like the new product that we're going to release, because we're trying to make the ones that we have the best they can possibly be. And so some of the takeaways here is that there is, if you are that content creator, and you should be if you're a business owner, there is tremendous value in building trust. There's that brand goodwill. Those of you who have followed Barbell Logic probably have a lot of goodwill for Barbell Logic. You know that we don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk, we live the culture. That is who we are. And for me, I've got people in my life, and whether that's personal or whether that's somebody that's kind of like an influencer, like a Hormozi, and you've heard me talk, for the most part, I can't stand influencers, but you start to build trust. You can probably think of the typical 4 or 5 podcasts that you listen to, and you probably feel like you know that person, even though you don't, right? And so we're trying to create the same thing with the education, and you should as well, to build trust and goodwill, branded goodwill. Maybe that's even under your name. I've always tried to stay away from Matt Reynolds being the focus of the entire company. So it's brand goodwill in Barbell Logic. We saw that factor of the exact same thing that we added with the new. We saw a lot of block clients started listening to our podcast. Scott and I, in those years, gained a lot of trust. There was a lot of humor. We had good back and forth, and they eventually became clients. So they listened to the podcast for free, or they read the articles, or started watching the YouTube videos, and they became clients. And then many of those clients wanted to become coaches. And so they started to educate themselves through the academy. And now with the academy, if you sign up for the academy, you get a Turnkey Coach account so that you can actually, you get permission, not that you actually need it from us, but I think a lot of coaches feel like they need somehow more education, more experience, more something to actually start coaching. And you can't get more experience unless you start coaching. And so you get permission to start coaching. And here's Turnkey Coach. And so the easiest way to do this. And so many Turnkey coaches, potential coaches, have listened to this podcast or the Coaching Success podcast and signed up, or listened to heard me on other podcasts like Dave Tate's podcast and have signed up for Turnkey Coach. And so I would say the education piece, you just give it all away for free. You just want to bring as much value as you can. Now, the academy is, it's a course, and it's run by a team that has to be paid. And so we've made that price point as palatable as possible, so that course can be something that is, not a loss leader for the business, while at the same time providing tremendous value for our up and coming coaches who want to educate themselves. But other than the academy, every piece of content we make is free. I guess that will change a little bit in a few months when the book comes out. Buy the book, but you can think about buying the book for $29.95 is a pretty low entry rate to getting tons of value, where basically I've poured out everything that I know about business and life and time management and all those things in Undoing Urgency for a cheap price. And hopefully that will lead to more leads. The key here is, how are you building trust with your potential clients? For me, as the client, I've gained trust with Alex Hormozi, who's, is still a little salesy and rah-rah, Gary Vee, guys like that are a little bit of that, but I still get a lot of value out of their stuff. I've gained enough trust that there's value to be had there, that I was willing to pull the trigger on a ticket and fly to Vegas and listen to them and learn from them and take notes from them and all of those things. So it's been valuable. So you can start with the free education. You can move to the low price education. And when you find something that you feel like is really leading you towards finding the constraints in your business, that's what the education does. Then you might decide to spend some money on a ticket for something that's more expensive to really hone in on those constraints. And then you come home and put them in action. They don't sit on the desk. Education doesn't just sit in your head. The constraints don't sit on the desk. They have to be pushed into action and to actually move the needle. Again, those constraints are, where are the biggest bottlenecks in your company right now that with the least level of effort could make the most positive change? And that's what we're focused on this week is mission control. And so I think that regardless of whether that was us in 2017, when we were a much smaller team, but still had mission control, or whether that is us in 2024 going into 2025, that core value piece of understanding the constraints of the business and what are the major priorities in the business every year, that becomes a major factor in what we do. If you're a team of one, you'll identify all those things. The way I run my business is not as a hierarchy, even though I'm the CEO. It is a team effort. Everyone has a very valid opinion. It's a team. And so often I come up with brainstorm ideas and the ideas are pretty good, but they're not dead on. And then the team tweaks those some and we make them better. When we do that and do it well, we add both more and better to the company. That's the stuff I want you to think about. The value of education, both for you as a potential consumer of that content, free content to low paid content to higher ticket content. But if you pay all the money for the high ticket content, identifying the constraints in the business and then do nothing with it, then you just wasted the money, right? As a content producer on the other side, for those of you who should be all producing content, putting out lots of high value content, are you putting out high volume of content? That volume negates luck, right? Lots of content, free content, people that follow, they should see your stuff all the time, build trust with you. And eventually some of those people will turn into what I often would call warm leads. You get their contact information, their email, do a phone call with them, a text, whatever. And then you work on your close rate and you make sure you close. And that's how you get more clients. But then you have to keep the clients by being better and drive up the lifetime value of the client, reduce churn, provide better service, do those sort of things. And so it's really, this is a 30,000 foot overview. We'll probably do another episode here in the future about the real takeaways we got from this week and this weekend. The extremely long days, lots of work, but good times, great times. Love what I do. I think everybody at the business right now, I know that Mission Control also, we love what we do. I wake up early a lot of times because I'm so excited about what I get to do today. And so there you go. There's another episode of the Barbell Logic Podcast Coaching Success Series. If the podcast has brought you value and you're a coach, the best thing you can do is go to turnkey.coach to sign up and discover how much more value you can provide to your clients and how much time you can save using Turnkey Coach. Your dollar per hour will 5x. It's like you will be more efficient as a coach with not only no loss in service, but I would argue for the vast majority of coaches, they actually increase the level of service they're able to provide their clients at a much higher dollar per hour value. Turnkey.coach. This podcast is always brought to you by Turnkey. And then keep your eyes open for Undoing Urgency. It should be just in the next couple of weeks. It should be up for pre-sale on Amazon.com and then officially everywhere, published December 10th. Super excited for that to come out as well. Hope that for many of you have built the trust over the years that you think there's going to be value there. I will tell you that it is not a repeat of things that have been in the podcast. It's all new stuff. Certainly, I've taken some chapters from the book and I've read them a little bit on the podcast, or there's some ideas that you've heard on the podcast before, but most of it is new and really truly fleshed out. And it's in a very clear systematic progression from identifying your core values and all the way down to what the fully loaded game plans look like, goals, actions, metrics, execution look like. And so I think there's a lot of value there, regardless of where you're at in the business. You might read it. And this was kind of one of the things that happened at acquisition.com was that it was mostly encouraging for us because we were like, we're doing the right things. And that didn't mean it was a waste of money. It was nice to hear that most of the things we were doing were the right things. And most of the places we knew where the constraints were, we were able to tighten those up a little bit. They were the same constraints. The places we have to be better or do more. And now it's the rest of the week is the plan to put that in action. And that's really what the yearly game plan looks like for us. And so you don't have to be the size of business that we are to put all those things in practice. How to grow more, better, new. Most of you need to focus on the more and the better, just like us. And the new only comes if you have absolutely maxed out and you're crushing the more and you're crushing the better. And the only way to grow is to add something new, or you have a broken product or a broken service that needs to be shut down and add something new. That's where the new is, right? And for us, it was just looking at the client lifecycle and seeing what new services or products we could give to clients who are ready to move to the next step from client to coach or to emerging coach or the education of the coach, and then turnkey coach to give them the actual software they needed and the system of online coaching they needed to be an effective and an efficient coach. And so think about those things. Education is great. I love it. You should be investing in your education every single day. That education should lead you to identifying the constraints in your business and then put those constraints into action. Hope you guys have a great Friday, great weekend, great week next week. And I'll talk to you next Friday.